Hey, what's going on everyone? Welcome to a new Django project where we're going to build a task manager application, and for that we're going to use Django Framework for the backend and React.js for the front end. So React in a nutshell is a JavaScript library which is great for developing single page applications or SPA, and it has solid documentation if you're interested to read about React. And I have a video, by the way, on React. It's a tutorial where I explain how React works and how we connect it to Django in order to send requests from the client to the server and return responses from the server to the client. Okay, so React serves as the front end, handling UI through the requests to Django's backend. So let me show you first what we're going to be building, the end result. So this is the task manager. And it's some sort of to-do list. So you have a button, add task, you have completed and incompleted. So you click on add task in order to add whatever task you want. You can say, for example, study geometry. Okay, and here study geometry late at night. And you can set it as completed, or you can leave it like unchecked, which means incompleted, and you can hit save. Okay, so study geometry, it's an incompleted. If you want it to appear in the incompleted section, you need to click on edit, you check completed, you save, and you'll find that it's marked, which means it's completed task. Okay, we can add another task, so you can say shopping for potatoes, shopping for potatoes this afternoon, for example, and it's incompleted, so it's still on the list. All right, for the completed items we can delete them, so you will hit delete, it will disappear from the list. Okay, and all of that is managed here in the Django REST framework. So you will click on get, or you refresh, and you will find that the only item right now which is available, which is incompleted, is shopping for potatoes. You'll find here ID 21 because this was the original example where I was working on initially, and I had to add more IDs and just for testing, and we have ID number 21. But for you, if you will start to do it for the first time, you will have ID 1, okay, with the title, with the description, completed with a Boolean value of false, which will set to be a default value, by the way. All right, so this is what's happening. We can delete that, or we can edit it. We can make it completed. Okay, save, completed. Okay, we can delete that. And if we will refresh our REST framework, you will find that it disappeared. Okay, so this is how things are working between the front end and the back end. Okay, we're going to build all that. So the prerequisites for this project are two essential elements: Python 3, obviously, and preferably 3.5 and above, and Node.js, because we're going to install some packages through npm, which is Node Package Manager. So if we're going to use npm, then we need Node installed on our system. And to test if you have Node installed or not, you can go to your command prompt or terminal depending on your operating system, and you can try node -- version. Okay, and if you will have this, that means that it's installed properly on your system. Also Python -v capital, I think. Yep. And also if you will have this, that means that you have Python installed on your system, and you're good to go. That's all what you need. And we're going to start by our favorite side, which is the backend. I always like to start by the backend, then the front end, or the UI. All right, so let's go ahead and open our command prompt or terminal, depending on your operating system. Desktop, I will go to desktop, and I'll create a directory. I will call it Django React app, and I will change directory to Django React app. Okay, and I want to create a virtual environment. I will use pipenv for that. So if you don't have pipenv, you can pip install pipenv like this. But if you have it, you can directly go ahead and activate your pipenv using pipenv shell command. Okay, And this is cool because you don't have to install dependencies and packages globally on your system, but only inside your project. This is the first thing. The second thing that we want to do is to install Django also using ppnv. So ppnv install Django. And by the way, guys, I'm interested to know what was the first programming language that you have learned. Okay, for me, I've learned in 1993. This was my first language. It was BASIC, and it was on Atari 800 XL. And I didn't have a disk drive, or there was no CDs or anything. There was just cassettes, and I used to play games like King Kong, Space Invaders, Pac-Man, all of these games using just cassettes and cartridges. Okay, and also I was programming on BASIC, just typing tens and tens of lines of code in BASIC using books. So I had some manuals and I was typing code, and this basic code reminds me very much of the turtle module in Python. So you type a few lines, then you'll have a flower, for example, or an arrow moving up and down, or stuff like that. It was very simple, very primitive, but it was really fun. Okay, excellent. Now we have Django installed. Let's go ahead and create our project. So in order to do that, we use Django-admin start project command. Follow that, the name of the project. So I will call it Backend. So the Django React app will be the main folder. Inside it, we will have two folders, one for the backend, and when we're going to create the front end, I'm going to create a folder called Frontend as well. So we'll have backend and front end folders. Okay, cool. Let's navigate to backend. And I want to start an application now. To do that, we use the command python manage.py start app, and we'll call it task or maybe to do. Okay, perfect. So let's see what we have. So we have the main project folder backend, we have manage.py, and we have our application folder to do. Okay, so let's go ahead and open that with Visual Studio Code using code space dot. And this opens automatically Visual Studio Code. You don't have to do it manually. Let's migrate. So python manage.py. Let's migrate first. Alright, and let's run the server. Manage.py. Run server. Okay. Oops. So let's go ahead to localhost port 8000, which is the default port for Django server. So localhost, and we have our default Django page working. Okay, now we know that everything's perfect. Let's close that, we don't need it. And let me actually kill the server. Alright, now we need to take some configuration steps inside the settings.py file. So the first thing that I want to do for the moment is I want to add the name of the app itself, which is to do. So here I will pass to do, okay, inside the installed apps list. Next, we want to create a model. This model will determine how the to-do items or the task items should be stored in the database to describe three properties. So we will have a title for the task, we will have a description for the task, and completed, which will be a Boolean value. All right, so let's go ahead and open models.py. Okay, and all right, from django.db import models. Let's actually create a class. I will call it to do. You can call it task. And models.model. And I need three attributes. So title, or three fields. Title equal to models dot char field, and let's give maximum length of let's give it 120, for example, and we'll need three more. Description, we'll make it 500, for instance, because it will be more characters. and completed. And completed will be not char field, but boolean field. Boolean field. Okay. And boolean field, it's not max length, but just the default behavior will be false. Okay. So this is our main class to do, and let's have also a string representation. So def term. All right. And we will return self.title. Okay. Now let's go ahead and make migrations. Every time you make changes in models.py, you need to make migrations. Models.py is the file that concerns the database. Okay, so Python manage.py, make migrations, because this is the file that's responsible of database. Okay, and you find here that we have a new file inside migrations folder, and we didn't do this manually. This is SQL code that Django had take care of. We didn't try that. We just have written in models.py, we have created a class, then we executed the make migrations command, then Django has created this for us. Okay, so this is a pretty cool feature in Django actually. And now let's migrate. So Python manage.py migrate. Okay, so apply all migrations, admin, auth, content type, sessions to do, running migrations, no migrations to apply. Okay, fantastic. Now we can test to see that the CRUD operations work on the to-do models file by using the admin site or interface. So what we'll need to do is to register the models in the admin.py file. So let's go ahead to admin.py file. Okay, and let's delete this comment, and we're going to import from current directory models file. We're going to import the to-do class. Okay, we need that, and let's create a class, call it to-do admin. Okay, and here admin dot model admin. All right, and say list of the display. We will have our three fields or three attributes. So title, description, and completed. And we want also to register the model. So here register model. So take the admin.site dot register, and here we will register the to-do class and the to-do admin class. Okay, now let's save that, and let's go ahead and create super user. So Python manage.py, create super user, back at mail.xyz, and just 1 2 3 4 5 6. That's okay. All right, now let's go ahead and run the server. Python manage.py, run server. Okay, let's go back to our browser. So let's go to localhost 8000 /admin and back 1 2 3 4 5 6. No, thank you, calm down. So there it is, we have our to-dos. Okay, different groups, so click here, users. All right, these are the users that we have, and if you will add other users, they will be added here. This is the main user. Groups, to-dos for now. We can add a to-do, so we have a title and description with the boolean value completed, so we can add here anything. Let's say shopping, shopping for potatoes in the afternoon. Okay, and make it like that. All right, we can click here, we can delete it. Yes, I'm sure. All right, so I think you have seen this before in my Django course. We have our little UI Django admin site, then we can interact with our database. Okay, cool. Let's log out and let's get back to, let's actually kill the server. All right, great job so far. You should be proud. And in the next section, we will see how we can create the API. So now I want to install Django REST framework because we will need serializers. And also I will need to install Django course headers for whitelisting port 3000, which is the default port for React. And for that we will use ppnv as usual, so make sure that you are inside your backend folder. And we'll say ppnv, and we will install Django REST framework in one word like that. And also I want the Django course headers, so Django course headers. Okay, and that's it. So I'll hit enter and we should see the magic happening. All right, perfect. So let's close that and let's open in the settings. So we will need to add the REST framework and course headers to installed app. So we have our to do and we'll add them just below. So course headers. Okay, this is one, and the second is the REST frameworks. REST framework. All right, and also in the bottom here somewhere, let's add it here for example, doesn't matter really. We want to whitelist the local host port 3000 because there's where the front end will be served mainly. So course underscore origin underscore whitelist. So we are whitelisting the local host port 3000. If we won't do that, there will be a block between the local host port 8000 and 3000, between the backend and the front end. So http://localhost. All right. So whitelisting React port. And by the way, the Django course headers package helps us in preventing the errors that we would normally get due to the course rules. So by doing this, we are whitelisting the localhost 3000 because we want the front end of the application to interact with the API in Django. So I hope this is clear for you guys. And now we want to create serializers for the to-do model. So for this to-do model, we want to create a file and we'll call it serializers. Okay. So the job of the serializer basically is to convert the model instances to JSON so that the front end can work with the received data easily. And JSON is the standard for data interchange on the web, and I have a crash course on JSON if you want to check that out. Okay, and it's the same idea of serialization in general. Also in JavaScript, when you take an object and you say JSON.stringify to convert it to a JSON string. All right, it's the same idea. So let's create a file inside the to-do folder, and I will call it serializers.py. Okay, let's maximize the font. And I want from REST framework to import serializers. Okay. This is the first thing. The second thing is I want the to do. So from models file in the current directory, I want to import to do. And let's create a class to do serializer. Serializers.model serializers. Serializers. Okay. Oops, sorry. Serializer only. And we'll create a meta class. So class meta. So the model will be equal to do. And the fields. So we'll have the ID, which is auto increment. We'll have the title. we'll have description and completed. Let's indent that properly. All right, and also let's create the view. So let's go to views.py. Okay, and don't like these comments. So I want also to import the view sets from REST framework. So from REST framework, import view sets. Okay, from the serializers file, I want to import the to-do serializer class. Okay, and also the to-do from models. So from, okay, and let's create a class. I will call it to-do view, and this view sets, okay, which is the model imported from the REST framework dot model view set. Okay, cool. And I will say serializer underscore class, which is just an object, and I will assign it to the to-do serializer module class. Sorry, to-do serializers is a class. And query set is a variable that I will declare, and I will assign it to to-do.objects.all in order to populate everything. All right, now let's go ahead to urls.py, which is in the backend project folder. Okay, and let's add some modifications. So I want to import from to-do. I want to import the views. From to-do, I want to import views. Okay, I want also, so the path, I want to add to that include. Okay, and I want also what we want routers from REST framework. So from REST framework, and this is very important for the routing. So from REST framework, we will import routers, and let's create a router object. So router will be equal to routers.default router, and router.register, and say tasks, call it tasks, and here a second argument, yeah, the view set, which is the views dot the to-do view, which is the main class here in views, the to-do view. All right, and also and also task, okay, as a base name. All right, so these are the URL patterns. I will add another path, and just when you will go to the URL and you will type localhost 8000 /API, okay, you should be routed to the Django REST framework website. So here router.urls. Okay, and this is the final step that completes the building of the API. We can now perform any CRUD operations in the to-do model. So routers basically allows us to make some queries. So when you will go to tasks, this will return a list of all the tasks or the to-do items. Okay, create and read operations can be done when you're inside tasks. And also you can have a task with an ID to return a single or individual to-do item or task item. Okay, and the ID is a primary key, of course, and also update and delete operations can be done here. Okay, so perfect. Let's just save in views. By the way, guys, I forgot to mention that in settings, let's just save that first. Okay, I forgot that in settings in the middleware, we need to add for the course header settings. So we will add course headers dot middleware dot course middleware. All right, this is also very important. All right, guys, so let's give that a shot. Actually, cd backend run server, and fingers crossed, hope we won't find any bugs. Alright, great. So let's go ahead and open the local host port 8000 / API. Let me just show you to just a quick reminder. You remember here in the URLs, we have said that the default path is the API /. So hit enter, and there it is, the Django REST framework. Okay, API root we have in a JSON format. API, we'll click here, you will have in JSON format. We'll have it here also. Okay, HTTP 200. Okay, the status code, allow get head options, very accept. And all this is useless, but if we will go to tasks, we will have our to-do list. Okay, so we can interact here, by the way. So I can say, let's say, for example, play music, description, play piano for 1 hour, okay, and post. All right, and boom, we have it in our to-do list with ID 2. But that's okay. You might have ID 1. That's fine, no big deal. Okay, and also you can update it, so you can make completed and post, and you'll find that completed has changed from false to true. Let me show you that again. Completed post, so completed false, and completed with checked mark, post, completed true. Okay, and in this case we can delete it. All right, and you can display different tasks. So if you make task /2, you will have only with the ID 2. Okay, with the play music with completed false. All right, you can delete it. Okay, you can update it, you can modify it with the put request. Okay, so that's all for the backend of the application. In the next part, we're going to move on to fleshing out the front end with React. Welcome back. So as our backend is working perfectly, now we will create our front end side and we'll make it communicate with the backend over the interface that we have created. So let's go ahead directly and create our React app, and I will use create React app CLI for that. So we will say npx, which stands for node package execute create React app. And for more information about create React app, please check out the link that will appear here, and this will take you to the latest video that I made on Django and React. Alright, so following that, I will type the name of the project or the app that I want to create, and I will call it front end. As we said, we will have 2 folders, one for the back end and one for the front end. And the installation of the package is going to take some time, so I will pause the video here and I will be back when it's all done. Alright, perfect. So let's go ahead and run the development server by typing npm start. Alright, and there is an error somewhere. Oh, because I'm not inside the front end folder. Npm start. Alright, perfect. So this is the default page of React. So now we're sure that everything is working perfectly. Let's kill the server and let's add some UI flair using Bootstrap and React Strap, as I told you in the beginning of the video. So to do so, we'll say npm install React Strap and Bootstrap. Okay, perfect. So that's okay for the moment, and let's go ahead and open the React folder, or the front end folder with Visual Studio Code. Alright, so let's keep our React app running on the right side, and let's go directly to index.js, which is the main entry point to our React app. And we'll need to do a couple of things. The first thing we need to do is to import Bootstrap. So import Bootstrap /dist/css css slash it's called bootstrap.min.css. Okay, so this is the first thing. And the second thing, you know what? No, that's okay, never mind. And let's open app.js now. And in app.js, we're going to work a lot. So let me just close that and we'll say hello. Okay. Right, okay. So let me actually, we don't need that. And let's import React. Okay, so let's actually delete that. And let's import React and component. Well, there is a shortcut for that, imrc. And I'm going to use a state-based component. So let's actually delete the functional component. And let's create a class to extend the component. All right, oops. Okay, and of course we need a constructor to take props. And the super with the props. So this dot state is equal to, you just make this bigger. All right, and let's have view completed, and we'll set that to false. And also let's have a second key, and we'll call that task list, and we will set it to, let's actually create that above here. So I want to create a variable, we'll call it tasks, and tasks is an array of different objects, and this will be different, just different tasks, dummy data to display them on the screen. But eventually we'll delete this, and we will just interact with the UI using the React app itself. Okay, so let me just copy 4 objects. We'll paste them here. Okay, and let me set the task list to tasks variable. All right. Okay, so all is good. Now we need to set completed tasks. To check if a task is completed, then view completed will be set to true. So by default we said that view completed will be set to false, and we will do that by creating just a property called display completed. So let me actually put it below. So let's come here and let's say display completed. Actually put semicolon here. So display completed is equal to an arrow function that takes status as a parameter, and will return one of 2 things. So if status is true, we will return this dot set status, set status, and view completed will be set to true. Okay, perfect. Actually cut that. All right, else we want to return view completed set to false. All right. All right, so this is one thing. This is one property. Let's actually have a second property, and this will render 2 spans which help control which set of items are displayed. So clicking on completed tab will show the completed tasks, and the same thing for the incompleted basically. So we will call it render tab list. This will be equal to an arrow function. We'll return, and here just for the sake of time, I will copy what's inside the div like that, just what we want to return. All right, so we have basically one div with a class name, and this is a bootstrap class, my5 or m on the y-axis, margin on the y-axis of 5 pixels, called tab list. All right, and we have a span, so on click, okay, we return this dot display completed equal to true. And then we have a span, and this has onClick property, and it has an arrow function that returns this dot display completed to true. Then we have a class or a class name that's set to a ternary expression. This is actually a condition. So if this state dot view completed is true, then active, else then just empty string. And in the middle we want the completed as a text, okay, which will be like in the form of button, but it's not a button actually, it's just a div with a span, okay. And the same thing with the incompleted. But in the class name, if this dot state dot view completed is empty, that means that we want to make it active. So these are the two spans that are controlling the set of items which are displayed, whether completed or incompleted. Okay, and let's go below here and render items. So we will render items, and this will be equal to an arrow function which will return, so we'll have const and with view completed passed inside, and this will be equal to this dot state, okay, and const let's call it new items. This will be equal to this dot state dot task list. All right, and we will use an array method, the filter array method, taking item as a parameter. Oops. So we're going to filter the completed item. So item dot completed must be equal to view completed. Okay. And I always forget semicolon. Then what we want to do next is we want to return new items while mapping each item. And map is another array function which calls a callback function taking item as a parameter. So we will return here the key and title. Each item has an ID as we have defined it in the tasks array. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Let me actually get below here. All right, so this is to render all the items that we have in the list. So rendering items in the list, completed or incompleted. Okay, so let's actually render on the screen because it's an empty canvas. I don't like it. So let's render. We will return. So let's have main with a class name context. Okay, and close that. And let's have an h1 tag, h1 with a class name so we'll make it text black, and this is bootstrap, so text black, text uppercase, and we'll put it in the center with a margin on the y-axis of 4 pixels. And here we'll write task manager. Okay, let's make it smaller. All right, and next let's have another h1 tag with a class name of row, and this will take a div with a class name md6 small 10 with max auto, and here we will have another div, so div with a class name of card p3, and we'll have another div, and I want to have a button. We'll give it class name equal to btn with btn primary. Okay, and we'll say add task, We can change it even to dark if you like. I personally like the warning, the yellow, like I showed you in the demo. So we'll keep it like that. We'll keep it the warning. Okay, so, and we'll have this closing div. And here we want to render the tab list. So we'll pass this dot render tab list. Okay, all right. And we will change that in the CSS file just in a moment. So UL unordered list with a class name, just like that. The class name of, and let's give it a class name of list group and list group flush. I also want to display the render items. So this dot render items. What did I do? Okay. So it is div, not h1. It's just a typo. Okay, that's better. So for the render items, what we want to do is we want to return new items. And we will map each item, okay? And map is just another array function like filter or reduce or sort. All of these are array functions. And the map function it calls a callback function taking item as a parameter. So let me show you that. So let's actually return new items. So we have new items defined above, new items, okay? And we are going to map taking item as a parameter, and this is an arrow function, okay? And it's going to what's going on? Oh, sorry, should be here like that, okay? And here we're going to return the key and the title. So let me actually put this in a list item, and inside the list the key is going to be equal to the item.id. Okay, what did I do? All right, so this is one thing, and also we want, so let's make like that, and also we want a class name. So class name is equal to list group item deflex justify content between and align items center. All right, so this is for each item in the list. So inside for each list element we are going to wrap a span. So let's have a span, and this span will actually be wrapped around each item title. Okay, so each task title, and you can see here the Dunning weekly reports. Okay, and these are the incompleted items, by the way, or the incompleted tasks. So you'll scroll above, you will find that Dunning completed set to false, and also weekly reports are set to false. Okay, so we're going to wrap a span tag around each item title, and for the span we're going to have a class name. So class name, and I want to check or have a condition to see if the state of view completed exists or true. That means that I want to have the to-do completed, else I will just have an empty string. So I'm going to use the backticks or the template literals just to have a placeholder. So to do title margin right of 2 pixels, and just have the $sign, this dot state dot view completed, okay? If this is true, then I want to have the completed to do, else, and empty string. And I think that's not enough, so here I want to set the title title equal to item dot title. So this is the first span, okay, and let's have a second span. I just need 2 buttons, so button, okay, and the button will take a class name of btn info, margin right 2 pixels, and here say edit, and another one, and here we'll say delete, okay, next to each other, and just, but I will change the, so here is info, and here danger for deleting to be red, okay, delete, not deleter. Alright, and let's make that cleaner, make like that. So I hope, guys, this part is clear to you what we did. Alright, what I want to do actually, I want to go to the index.css. I want to delete all of that, and let's have general settings for the body. So I'll have margin set to 0, padding is set to 0, also font family sans serif. Let's have the to-do title. So this has a class name of to-do title, so I will make just the cursor to pointer, and we're going to turn these text, just it will look like a button in a minute. Alright, and also the completed to do, we want to give it text decoration, so decoration line through, and the tab list, so the tab list for the span, and the span child I want to give it a padding of 5 pixel top and bottom, and 8 pixels right and left, okay, and the border I want to give it 1 pixel solid, and the RGB is that color, that turquoise color, 13, 159 and 204. And also I want to give a border radius. Why nothing is changing? Okay, border radius 10 pixels. You have here cursor pointer for the to-do title. You see here that we have a pointer for the cursor, and the paddings here and everything. So here is solid. Alright, now that's better. Let's also give it some margin right to give some space. Give it 20 pixels. Alright, neat. Also give it cursor pointer. So I'll hover over, it will be a pointer like that. Okay, good. We're almost done. Also, I want the span child, when it's active, to have some properties. So dot tab list, and here I want the background color when it's active to be the same as this RGB. So I'll copy that, paste it here. Next, I want to give it a white color just for contrast. FFF. Alright, perfect. Now let's go ahead and work on the model, on the construction of the model. So let's close the index.css, and let's go to the same folder, of course, in the source, and I will create another folder. I will call it components, and here I will have a file called model.jsx .js. So let's go ahead and import React and component from React, and we want to import different things from React strap. So we will import, let me just copy that. So we want to import button, model, model header, a model body, a model footer, a form, form group, input, and label. Okay, all of that from React strap. Okay, so mainly the React strap is imported to create the model. Okay, constructor with props. Okay, super props, and this dot state is equal to, so active item, I will set it to this dot props dot active item. All right, and make like that. Okay, and I want to create different properties here, so I'll create handle change like that, equal to, and I will give it event as a parameter. Let's make it e, just e, like that as parameter, and we'll return, so we'll have name and value. Okay, e dot target for the name and value. So we want to check if e dot target dot type is equal to checkbox, and this is for the checkbox for the completed item. Okay, so then the value will be equal to e dot target dot checked. Okay, so this is one thing, and also the active item is equal to just put 3 ellipses here, this dot state dot active item. Okay, and we'll put the name and we'll give it just a value like that. All right, so this dot set state taking active item as a state. Okay, and the semicolon. All right, so this is the changes handler. This is just to check out if the checkbox is checked or not. That's all what it does. So to check if the checkbox is checked or not. So we want also a toggle whether the model itself is opened or closed, on or off. So let's go ahead and write our render function, and I will have const of toggle and on save, because we will save eventually the tasks that we create or update. So this dot props, and we want to return, and here I want a model that tag. Okay, and let's just put is open equal to true, then toggle equal to the toggle state. In the middle here we will have a model header, the model body, and so on. So let's construct that model header, and here is the task item. So this is the header, and let's have a body now. So model body, there we go. So in the model body, what we want to do is we want to create a form, and this form will have title, description, and completed, which are the same fields essentially that we have defined as properties on the to-do model in the models.py file in the backend. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a form, and here we will have 3 groups. So let me just copy them quickly like that. All right, so this is very easy. 3 groups, one for the title, so let me just title, one for the description, and one for the completed. So title label. Okay, and it has an input, so it has a title and an input. Okay, this dot state dot active item dot title. Okay, and on change we will invoke handle change. Basically, this is an arrow function assigned to the handle change property. Okay, so we will call it simply. And with a placeholder, so enter task title, enter task description, and complete, you just completed. And that's all. That's basically it. We'll need also a footer. So after the model body, I want to create a model footer. Okay. And here I want a button. And that button will have a color. And this color is the success color, the green one. And then on click, an arrow function, and so on save, I want this dot state dot active item. And don't forget to write between the buttons, the button tags. Here, save. And that's all. We need to export. So export default model, and let's go ahead and import it. So let's go to app, and let's import custom model from components model. There is an error. Model body is not defined. Model body with B capital, and also B capital, save that. Alright, and you have here incompleted. So you have here incompleted. Oops, there is something wrong. This dot set state, use dot set state. I made a typo. Set state. Okay. So I've completed, there you go. Completed and incompleted. Okay. Of course, if you make edit, delete, nothing happens because we're not connecting it to the backend. Also add task, nothing happens because we need to work on our app.js first. First thing that I want to do is inside the constructor. Where's it? Yeah, here. So here I want to add a few properties. So here I want to set the model as default to false. Okay. Else it will be shown always when you will open the application. All right. So this is one thing. Also, I want each active item to be set to an object, and we'll have the 3 fields. So we'll have title, and this will be an empty string. Also we'll have description, and completed. We'll set it to false. And toggle, it's an arrow function, and it will return, so this dot set state, and inside it will take as a state the model, which will be set to not this state dot model. Okay, so this is just for the toggling of the model itself, because the model originally is set to false. Okay, and here I don't need that. I want it outside. I also want to create handle submit. So when we will submit the task or the to-do, should be equal to an arrow function, taking item as a parameter, and returning just this for the moment, just for testing. Let's alert or console log, whatever. And here we will say saved example, and we want the JSON. This is for serialization, JSON dot stringify, and we will pass the item. Okay, I forgot something. This on toggle, so this should be not toggle. All right, like this. I'll close that. Okay, and I will call this handle delete, because we want to handle the submit and handle the delete. So the item, and we don't want this dot toggle, and here we'll say deleted. Okay, and the same thing, JSON.stringify whatever the item is. All right, I also want to create item, and this will be equal to an arrow function, and inside I want to declare an item variable, and this will be equal to, so inside here the state with the title of an empty string. Also model is set to not this dot state dot model, and also I want to this dot set state, and the active item is set to the item itself, whatever the item is, and model is set to not this dot state dot model. Okay. All right, let's move on. We're almost done. So we need also to edit any item or any task. So this will be set to an arrow function with an item as a parameter, and we'll return this dot set state, this dot set state, and inside here I want also the active item, basically the same exact line here. Okay. All right, and just let me check out below. We don't have the background with the turquoise color, but let me just change that, and this here will be content with B3, and all that is bootstrap, MB3, MB2, and we'll take the background info, which is this turquoise color. So if I will save now, you will find that the background color has changed. Let me actually, let's change here. Let's make it white. All right, there we go. And also let me add a footer below the last div. So here we'll add a footer, and we'll give it a class, or class name rather. And here we'll say margin on the y-axis 5 pixels, also bg info, text white. Okay, and we'll put it in the middle, center. All right, and here we'll just put copyright, so copyright 2021, and for the copyright symbol, and copy and semicolon, like that. So there you go. Yeah, we can put it on the same line, all rights reserved. Okay, and I think this we give it too much of margin. Let's make it 3, for example. Just make it narrower. That's better. We still don't see our model because we will need to put it just here below. So here's how our model works actually. This dot state dot model, just make it bigger for you guys. Let's close that. Okay. So here I'm checking if this dot state dot model is true. I want to receive active item, toggle, and onsave as props. So I want to insert them as props. So model, and the first property, active item, right, will be equal to this dot state dot active item. Okay, and the active item actually represents the task item that we want to be edited. And the second property is toggle, so toggle is equal to this dot toggle. All right, and toggle is just the function that we have defined above, which is used to control the model state. So whether we will have an open model or closed model. And the third property, or the third props, is onsave. Okay, we need that to save the task, and this will be equal to this dot handle submit, and that's it. So if this dot state dot model is true, we want all of that to happen. Let me just close the tag, and it's complaining. Why? Because we need else. So if this .state.model is true, we want all of that as we said. Else, just return nothing, null. Alright, and that's all. So let's actually, if we'll click on add task, nothing will happen. And if you'll go to your DevTools, and I hope you have React DevTools installed for your Chrome browser, and when we'll click on app, you will find here below that model is set to false, and that's absolutely fine because we did that in the code. So if you will click on that checkbox, it will appear to you. And if you will save, you will find here saved, title, description completed. Just this is for checking. Like we did here in our code with the json.stringify, this one here. When we hit save, it will give us what has been saved, each item, and it will just alert it. Okay, so that's what's happening. You can close that. Okay, you can see here view completed is false. If you will click that, you will find that you have the completed because it's true. Task list. This is our dummy data that we have defined above here. All of that. All right. So that's what's happening behind the scenes. And you can see here active item completed is set to false. Description nothing and title is nothing. Okay. Exactly like we have set it here. We will now modify the application so it interacts with the Django API that we have built. Let me actually open the terminal. And by the way, I have moved the backend and front-end folders in the main directory, in the main Django React app. I recommend that you do the same. Okay, so let's navigate to backend and let's not npm python manage.py run server. Alright, let's go to localhosts, port 8000. That's okay. We need to go to API and to tasks. Okay, so we have Node working on port 3000 React and Django working on port 8000. Okay, fantastic. We have two instances of the terminal. Okay, so for us to make requests to the API endpoints on the backend server in Django, we will need to install Axios. Okay, and I also have explained Axios in the last video in React Django tutorial. So let's go ahead and let's open actually a third terminal and let's go to the front end folder and let's npm install Axios, and we will notice in package.json here it should be added in the packages. Okay, so you have seen that Axios has been added to the package.json. Alright, so now we'll need to modify in the app.js so it doesn't use the hard-coded items above. Let's actually delete all of that. So we'll delete all this. Okay, let's create to-do list with an empty array, and we have a function called component did mount. So let me show you component did mount, and I have spoken about component did mount in the last Django React tutorial. But basically component did mount is invoked immediately after a component is mounted, inserted into the tree. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to invoke the component did mount, alright, and it will return this dot, it's a function that we will create it now, refresh list, which will be assigned to a function, an arrow function. So I want Axios to connect between the backend and the front end, right? Oops, sorry. Alright, so this is the main goal of Axios, to connect both, to send the requests from the client to the server and getting the responses from the server to the client. Okay, so Axios dot get method, and here we want the http colon slash slash sorry, the backend 8000 API tasks. Okay, dot then this is a promise. Actually, it returns a promise, so the response as a parameter, and this dot state, and inside here the to-do list res.data. This is the promise. This is what we will do with the response, and in case of any errors we want to catch them, so that, and we can console.log whatever error that might occur. So this is one thing, the refresh list, just to refresh the list of the completed and the incompleted tasks. I also want to update the handle submit. So here, instead of just having an alert above, we want to change that. So this dot toggle, that's okay, and I want to check if item.id, then axios dot get, and here just I will use the backticks, and we'll go to localhost port 8000 API, the tasks and whatever the item is. Okay, so like that, item.id. Okay, and we'll return the item as well outside. Alright, so just close that. Alright, I don't know why I said get, it's put just for updating. Dot then, and it takes a response and returns the refresh list. Okay, and this is not enough because we have just modified it, so we want to post it after. So we'll have another Axios object, and we will post this time, then HTTP, no backticks this time, localhost 8000 API tasks. Okay, and we want to return the task itself, the item. Okay, and also for a promise, I'll just make it like that. We also want to apply the same thing on the lead, so let me actually take this from here. We will change the method to delete. Okay, and we don't want to return the item, just like that. Alright, let's see why it's complaining. Yeah, because here we have changed the task list to to-do list. So let's go below to render items. Here this should be to-do list. Okay, and that's okay, perfect. So you can see that all the tasks that we have written before, they have disappeared actually. Alright, so let's test that. Alright, so moment of truth, let's click on add task. Let's say calling, nothing is happening. I'm not able to type in model. It's my bad. Form with a capital F. Okay. Also, the button should be with a capital B, like that. Otherwise, look to the button. Okay, save. See here, if I will make it be with small letters, I will save that. Everything here won't be applied. The color, the functionality itself, the on click, nothing will happen. So let's return that. So this is my bad. Apologize for that. Let's go ahead and try again. And we're still not typing. Active item. Oh, it's missing. Okay, that's missing an E. It's good to spell things right. Alright, let's try again. Calling, perfect. Okay. Calling customers. Calling customers for cash collection. Okay. And we can mark it completed or incompleted, so we can leave it like that. We can save and boom. And let's go to our Django framework. Let's refresh and we'll find that ID number 6, calling customers. Okay, and incompleted. Now let's edit it and let's make it completed. For instance, let's save, and it disappeared from the incompleted list, and it's in the completed list. Alright, so we can delete all of that. Alright, perfect. And if we will refresh, it's empty as well as empty here. Right, let's add another one. Let's say walk the dog. Okay, save, incompleted. Alright, we can edit it. Okay, so this is the full-fledged application using Django for the backend and React for the front end. If you like this video, please like it, share it with your friends, and I appreciate always your support, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next videos. Take it easy.